Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwara, Gurureva Param Brahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Chinmayam Vyapyat Sarvam Trilokyam Sacharacharam Tatpadam Darshitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Tvameva Mata Cha Pita Tvameva Tvameva Bandhu Cha Sakha Tvameva Tvameva Vidyat Ravitam Tvameva Tvameva Sarvam Mama Deva Deva Tvameva Sarvam Mama Deva Deva. Jai Guru. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahana Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So we're in our second chapter, and what we've basically been dealing with is the whole Vedantic notion of perception itself. And the framework that Vidyaranya uses is the traditional one, and that has to do with the tanmatras, the 5 elements: earth, air, fire, water, and ether, or space. And again, to review, this is not because the ancients didn't know chemistry and physics like we do today. They had a very different understanding of the phenomenal world, which I happen to think is a good one. So, the easiest way to understand this is, again, to go to the dream state. So I had a weirdest dream the other day. Those of you who've been here, you see the cinnabar vases I have over there. I was with my brother, I can't remember which one, but he decided he wanted to saw off the top and make cinnabar bowls out of it. Very strange dream. So I, Jim, in the dream, see the cinnabar vases and the cinnabar bowls. But in fact, the dream eyes, the dream seeing, and the dream object of sight is nothing but my mind, appearing as this triple factor, knower, knowing, and know. And that has to do with all the 5 senses. And as I frequently will say, you see the table here in the living room, what's it made out of? It's made out of wood. But if you dream about the table in my coffee table in my living room, is it made out of wood? No. It's made out of some combination of seeing, hearing, tasting, touching, and smelling. And how that's combined is called the Panchakarana. Pancha means five, Karana means causation. So it's usually translated as the fivefold division and recombination of the tanmatras, the subtle elements. And now in this next section, starting with the discussion of space, Vidyaranya is going to show us how each level of perception borrows existence from the self, from Brahman. And then by Maya Shakti, each level becomes grosser and grosser and grosser, containing the elements of the prior mantra. It's not that important to be able to figure it out, but that's the process that he's going to go through. So what? The point is the practice that's implied, the substratum, the material cause for this world of name and form is Brahma. Just like the images in the mirror never change the mirror, so also the joys and the sorrows, the successes, the failures, the tragedies, etc., that are perceived in this world, seen, but they're like a virtual reality. Yoga says if we start to turn down our reactivity, if we practice mature vairagya. What's Shankar's definition of vairagya? That desire, we don't achieve it overnight, to give up all attachments to experiences gained through the senses and all notions of self, starting from the body up to and including the form of Brahma, the creator, is termed vairagya. In order for us to be jiva and mukta, liberated while alive, a purusha, sthita prajna, person of steady wisdom, we have to be committed to giving up all attachments, all identifications. Any thoughts on this before we go marching into the Panchakarana? All right. What number are we on, Mark?
We're starting on verse 67.
Verse 67 in chapter 2. You got it?
I got it.
All right. Will you help us out, please?
Hinne viyatsati shabdam vedat buddhaischa medatah bhavyadish vanuvrittam vrittam sat tanu vyometi bhedihi. Brahman and Akasha are different entities. Their names are different, and the ideas conveyed by their names too are different. Brahman pervades air and other objects. Such is not the case with Akasha. This is what we know to be the difference.
Yes. So the point that he's getting at is, in fact, I can be aware of space, Now, I'm not too conscious of it as I'm moving around through the world. Space just is, and I'm far more concerned about the stuff that's in it. But again, let us go to the dream state. When I had the dream about my brother sawing off the top of the cinnabar vases, I created the space of the dining room. In it was the dining room table, was the table against the windows, and the vases were in the space. If you close your eyes and imagine you're out in the Himalayas in India, looking up at the beautiful night sky, you see space itself becomes an object of awareness. If I take a hand mirror and I go to the top of Twin Peaks in the city, then face west and look into the mirror, I can see the downtown of San Francisco. I can see Market Street. I can see the trolleys going up and down. I can see the big tall buildings. But I see the space in which they all exist. Is there space in the mirror? No, the mirror is something other than the space reflected in it. So space, the subtlest of the elements, has as its substratum Brahman. It borrows existence, as it were, from Brahman. But the space itself is an object of cognition. Any thoughts on this? Next verse.
Sadvastva dhikrita dhikriti tvatdhi vyomanastu dharmata dhiya sata prithak dhiya sata prithakare bruhi vyoma kimatmakam. The entity, Sat being more pervading, is the locus or substance, and Akasha being less pervading, a content or an attribute. When by the exercise of reason or intellect, Sat is separated from Akasha, tell me what the nature of Akasha is. That is, it is reducing to nothing. It is reduced to nothing.
Yes. So the existence of the space of the phenomenal world is in the entity, Brahman. Brahman can exist without space. Space cannot exist without Brahman. Your mind can exist without the dream. Dream cannot exist without truth. You don't have a drawer next to the bed when you open it and say, oh, I want that dream tonight. Even though it happens in Harry Potter with the wand. It doesn't work that way. So, space, the subtlest of all elements, is asat. It is in fact unreal. Again, it becomes easy to understand if you go to the dream state. You are the God of your dream. Understand how the dream comes about, then you will see how this world comes about. All right, next verse.
avakashatmakam tacca tadasattidi chintayam bhinnam sato sachat neti vakshi chet vyakshi chet vyahatistava. If you hold that when existence is abstracted from it, Akasha still remains as space. We reply, it should be regarded as, quote, nothing. If you say it, quote, it is different from Asat as well as from Sat, end quote, you shift your position, for you do not admit anything which is different from both, which we, of course, hold.
Yes. So this again is Tarka, it's argument. Basically, what he's saying is, does the space of the phenomenal world exist independent of consciousness? First of all, what the physicists are now saying, that before the Big Bang, there was no space, which I can't wrap my head around. And then they have what they call inflation. This is what I call the science I get from YouTube. So real scientists, please correct me. And in less than a second, the space of the universe inflated to 3/4 its current size now. But what yoga says is it occurred in consciousness. That there's a substratum that pre-exists space. It, big crunch, big bang, who knows what the physics are going to come up with? I really don't know. But whatever happens, there's a background, there's a substratum, which is Brahman, which pervades the space. The existence of the space is in consciousness, just like it is in the dream. You cannot abstract your dream out from the fabric of your own mind. This is no different. Going on.
Bhatiti chet bhatunam prishnam mayik bhatiti chet bhatu nama bhushanam mayikasya tat yada sadbhasamanam yat sadbhasamanam tat mithya swapna jagadivat. If you argue that Akasha is evident, then we reply, let it be. It is to the credit of the products of Maya. The appearance of an object which is in fact non-existent is an illusion, mithya, just as that of the elephant seen in a dream.
Yes. So space is real because it exists, it is perceived, people can measure it. The sun is 93 million miles away. That's a distance in space. And here Vidyaranya says, knock yourself out. But there's no way to prove that it has any existence outside of consciousness. And again, like myself, he's very smart. He agrees with me. He says, is the elephant in my dream real or not? Well, it's a real experience, but it's not a solid, separate elephant. It's just imagination. It is a superimposition. It is mithya, illusion. I had one student who was taught that mithya can be defined as a conditioned reality as opposed to an unconditioned reality. So clay is the unconditioned reality. Pot, vase, bowl are the conditionings on it. No matter how. Any thoughts on this? Next verse.
Jati Vyakti Dehi Dehao Gunadravye Yatha Prithak Viyat Satos Tathai Vastu Parthakyam Kotra Vismayah. As there is a distinction between a class and a member of a class, the living man and his body, and the possessor of an attribute and the attribute, so there is a distinction between existence, Brahman, and Akasha. What is there to wonder at?
So the name of a person, his class, his culture, his gender, this is just nama rupa, name and form. Different ways of describing it. It's attributes. So what he's saying here, Brahman is nirupaham, without a form. And the entire cosmos is superimposed on it, like pratibimba, like the images in a mirror. Seen, but not substantial. Going on.
Buddhopi bhedo no chitte nirudhim yati chetada anekagraya sanshayatva rudhya bhavosya devada. If you say that granting intellectually that there is a distinction between Akasha and Brahman, yet in practice one does not feel convinced of it, we ask, is such an absurd conclusion due to lack of concentration or tenacious doubt?
No shaming here, no spiritual shaming. So the doubt is, okay, I hear what you say, Jim or Vidyaranya, but I don't experience it. My experience is space is real and the stuff in it is real. It's there. And here he says, it's either from lack of understanding, doubt, tenacious doubt. I'm going to add to his list, it is probably due to the lack of practice. All of these truths, they are not just philosophical. They're attempts to describe a direct experience. Abhyasa vairagyacha. Continue to practice. Go. See what is. Prove or disprove what Vidyaranya is saying in the laboratory of your own direct experience. Use what he's saying as a spiritual hypothesis. When we're doing science, we're given a hypothesis, then we prove or disprove it. Laboratory of our own direct experience. I have not yet seen the movie Oppenheimer. If any of you have, before the Trinity experiment, where was it?
Alamos.
Los Alamos, yes. They didn't know whether it would actually work. I mean, they had the theory. One of them was saying, my God, it could ignite the entire atmosphere and blow up the world. I think so. But the Trinity bomb at Los Alamos was the aparoksha jnanam, the direct experience. Truth. Explosion. Go have a nuclear explosion in your mind. Next verse.
अप्रमत्तो भव ध्यानात् अध्येन्तस्मिन् विवेचनम् कुरु प्रमाणयुक्तिभ्यां ततो रूढतमो भवेत्. If the first be attentive by fixing the mind through meditation. If the other, then study the matter carefully with the help of reasoning and evidence. Then the conviction of the truth of the distinction between Brahman and Akasha will be firm.
So he totally agrees with me again. Practice. Practice. Continue to study scripture. Send your mind in investigation. Is the phenomenal world separate and real? Or is it just imagination? The world is the mind is the world. If that be so, if you thin the mind, the world for you will thin out. Next verse.
ध्यानान् मानात् ध्युधिक्तोऽपि रूढे भेदे वियत्सतोः न कदाचित् द्वियत्सत्यं सद्वस्तु छिद्रवन्न च. By means of profound meditation, evidence and logical reasoning, Brahman and Akasha can be known to be different from one another. The Akasha will not appear as real, nor Brahman as having the property of space giving.
So let me have a caveat here. There is a term that I borrow from Yoga Vasishta that I'm fond of, Chidakasha, the space of pure awareness. In actuality, yourself has no dimension at all. It's neither smaller than the smallest atom, nor is it larger than the vastness of space. It is not space, but it can appear like space. So don't get caught up in the words here. Go to your direct experience. Mind made very quiet. Attentive faculty turned within. Investigate. What is your essential nature? Next one.
Yasya bhati sada vyoma nistatvo Lekhapurvata Sadvastapi Vibhatyasya Nichidrat Nichidrat Vapurasparam. To a knower, Akasha always shows its illusoriness, and Brahman also always shines unassociated with its properties.
So, space is seen to be an illusion. It disappears in deep sleep. It's manifested in various forms in the dream state. I look up and I see the bowl, the blue bowl of the sky. All sorts of illusions. I can read physics books. I can tell me what space is like. I was reading a book, might have been a YouTube video, some time ago, that in ancient Egypt, the Milky Way looked like it hit the ground where the Nile River was. And they thought it was a river in the sky. It's going on. Rather the other way around, it came down out of the sky and became the Nile. That's good an explanation as any. So many things we think, but we don't know. And space completely disappears in deep sleep. It's gone. Going on.
Vasanayam Pravithyayam Viyatsatya Tvavadinam Sanmatrana Bodhayuktam Cha Drishtva Vismayate Buddha. When one's impressions about the true natures of Sat and Akasha are thus quite deepened by constant reasoning and meditation, one is amazed to see a person attributing reality to Akasha and suffering from ignorance about reality being pure existence void of all attributes.
So, there is no other ignorance than the deeply rooted conviction that I'm bound, that I'm a body and the world is in space and time and separate from me. There's no other liberation than seeing the illusory nature of that perception. So this is called jnana abhyasa, the practice of knowledge. Do our best to break down that habitual way of seeing. Now, he's going to do this later. He's just starting with Akasha space. And then he's just going to trickle down through all the rest of the tanmatras, summing it all up. The whole phenomenal world is dreamlike. Substratum, the entity, which is the world. What's the word for entity that he uses? I forgot. Brahman. But Brahman itself is always here, and its nature is Satchidananda, and it never changes. Going on.
Evam akashamithyatve satsatyatve cha vasitte Nyayena vyavade sadvastu pravichatyayam. Thus, when the unreality of Akasha and the reality of Brahman are firmly established in the mind, one should follow the same method and differentiate Brahman, whose nature is pure existence, from air and other elements.
So once we've posited, put forward the idea, space itself is just created in the mind. Now we go through the other elements. Now this is really cool, the way this breaks down. So what he's going to say is, okay, we have Akasha, space. And then 1/10 of space is used to combine to make air, because air moves through space. So air has the quality of touch, but air also makes a sound. You hear the rushing wind. So it carries the quality of the sound of space. It adds to it the quality of touch of air. It's a little bit grosser. This is this recombination of the elements. So, and we're going to see that step all the way down to earth, which is the grossest. Okay, going on.
Sattvastunyekadeshastha maya tatraikadeshagam viyat tatrapye kadeshagato vayu prakalpitaha. The real entity, Brahman, is all pervasive. The range of Maya is limited. That of Akasha is more limited, and that of air yet more so.
So, as these tanmatras grossify, they become more and more limited. So space is, from the standpoint of physics, virtually infinite. There's no wall at the end of the universe that I know of. But air is more limited. There's time when the wind blows, there's time when it doesn't blow. And the wind moves through space, so it's more limited than space. Going on.
Shosha-sparsho gatir-vega vayudharma ime mataha traya swabhava-sanmaya vyomnam ye tepi vayugaha. The following are the properties air is known to possess: ability to absorb moisture, perceptibility to the sense of touch, speed and motion. Existence and the properties of Maya and Akasha are also found in air.
So, as with all the elements, they exist. Their sat is Brahman. So here he's listed some of the qualities of air. Today's been a muggy day. The air can have moisture in it. Rain can come out of it. It moves, we call that wind. It can be dry up in Rajasthan. It can be muggy in Kerala. So it exists in space. It has the quality of space, and then adds the additional quality of touch as air. All of it, Brahman consciousness, by virtue of its inherent Maya Shakti, all this happens. Next one.
Vayur Vayur Stiti Sadbhava Sato Vayau Prithak Nistatva Rupata Maya Swabhavo Vyomago Dvanihi. When we say air exists, we mean that it does so by virtue of the universal principle, existence. If the idea of existence is abstracted from air, what is left is of the nature of Maya, that is, a non-entity. The property of sound that is found in air is of Akasha.
So the point here is, if I'm dreaming that I'm sailing, and I'm sailing through Hurricane Gulch, where the wind comes through the Golden Gate. You know, if you're out sailing on the bay, nice, easy sail. Whoosh, the boat heels over as you go through that section. But it occurs in my dream. First, I create space. And I create the wind in the space. But the precondition to the dream is go to sleep. Mini Maya. It is the mind at sleep that creates the dream. Next one.
Sato Nuvritti Sarvatra Yonmo Neti Pureritam Vyomano Vrittiradhuna Kathamna Vyahatam Vachaha. Objection. It was stated before in 67 that existence was a natural concomitant of everything and that Akasha was not. Now you say that Akasha is concomitant of air. Do they not contradict?
So it's a bit begging the question, can air exist without moving in space? That's the doubt. But is both the air and the space occur in imagination? They are sankalpa. That's the point. Going on.
Chitranuvritti netiti purvoktirthuna tvayam shabdanuvrittire vokta vachaso vyahiti kutaha. Reply. We implied before that space as an attribute of Akasha was not found in air. We now say that the ability to produce sound, which is also the attribute of Akasha, is found in air. Where is the contradiction?
Yeah. So the opponent is just begging the question. So this is a metaphorical way to talk about the whole notion of perception. My suggestion is don't get caught up in these technicalities. Sarvam kalvidam Brahma. All this is verily Brahman. Brahma Satyam Jagan Nitya. Brahman alone is real. All phenomena is illusion. Keep it simple. Next one.
Nanu sadvastu parthakyat sattvam chetata katham avyaktam maya vesham dhyat maya maya tapino. Objection. If you argue that because air is different from the real entity, it is unreal, why do you not infer that air, perceived by the senses being different from Maya, is not unreal like Maya?
So Is air unreal like Maya is unreal? I think he's going to say he actually did that. Let's take the next verse.
Nistatva rupatayvatra maya tvasya prayojika sa shakti karyayostulya vyaktavya tattva bhedinoho. Reply. Air is unreal because its nature partakes of the nature of Maya. Unreality is common to Maya and its effects because both differ from reality existence. Although Maya, being power, is not subject to perception, whereas its effects are.
So you cannot see Maya per se. You can only infer Maya by its effects. Now, if you have the great punya, the grace, to have a deep nirvikalpa samadhi, when the mind returns from nirvikalpa, you literally see stuff emerge from yourself. Pure stuff, which then immediately forms as the world of name. Pure prakriti, pure avyaktaha, which then becomes the whole world in an instant. You have your own interior Big Bang. Keep it simple. I think Vidyaranya is unnecessarily technical and complicated here. Going on.
Sada sattva vivekasya prastutatvatva chintayam asatto vataram bheda astvam tacchitta yatrakim. There may be subdivisions within non-existence, but what is the use of considering them here?
So now he pushes back on himself. So within the relative reality of the phenomenal world, we can have all sorts of subdivisions. You can use the model of the tanmatras. You can use the periodic table if you want. But he says, what's the use of it all? Sarvamaya, Sarvamana. All this is Maya. It's all bliss. Now, he's going to take up a very important doubt. And it is to look at one particular school of Buddhism, which basically says the phenomenal world is, and our problem is the superimposition of all my ideas on it. That I see a world of name and form, and if my mind is supremely quiet, I will simply see the world as it is, solid, real, separate from me. Actually, go deeper, and you'll see that the phenomenal world is nothing but dynamic energy, moving in an eternal now. the mind gets even more quiet. Next verse.
Sadvastu brahma sashtosho vayurmithya yatha viyat vasayitva chiram vayo mithyatvam marutam tyajet. What is real in air is Brahman, Sat. Other portions are unreal as in Akasha. Having made a deep impression in your mind about the unreality of air by reason and meditation, give up the false notion about the reality of air.
So, just as I gave up the notion of the reality of space, now I give up the notion of the reality of air. And then he'll say, with all the other modes of perception and objects perceived as well. Going on. What number are we on?
We're starting 87. Chintayet vahimyevam maruto nunyavartinam brahmanda varaneshvesha yunadika vicharana. In the same way, we can think of fire, which has a more limited range than air. A similar consideration will point to the relative extension of the other elements which envelop the universe, example, water and earth.
So the idea here is just like space is more expansive than air, fire is less expansive than air. A fire, this is the phenomenon of seeing. First of all, it has the others in it. Fire occurs in space. I can touch the fire. Oh! And I can see the fire. Oh. It's a bonfire. It's a flame on a candle. Not as expansive as air. But the sat of the flame is borrowed from consciousness. It occurs in consciousness. More limited than fire is water, which is the phenomenon of taste. More limited. And finally, earth, grossest of the elements, has all the prior four. And then he says this marvelous thing, this smallest, most limited, this densest part of the tanmatras and the panchakarana. From it, the entire phenomenal universe is comprised. Earth, the sun, the moon, the galaxies, the black holes. That's the most limited. Remember what he said earlier, he quoted Krishna. In one tiny portion of my infinite being is the whole cosmos. Meaning, in one tiny portion of your infinite being is the funny farm of your life. It's so little. More vast. Going on. I think we're almost through with this chapter, aren't we?
We have a few more.
Okay. We've got 15 minutes. We should be able to do
We have like 20 more.
20 more?
Yeah.
Okay. Why not?
Vayor darshan shato nyunyo Vahirvaryo prakalpitaha Puranoktam tarabhyam Dasham shair bhuta panchake. Fire is formed from a 10th part of air, and in this way each element is 1/10 as extensive as the preceding one. This is the traditional theory described in the Puranas.
Yes. So this is how, as these elements become grosser and grosser, they take part of the preceding elements and become denser and denser, more and more limited. Going on.
Vahni Krishna Prakashatma Purvanu Gatiratra cha Asti Vahni Sanistatva Shabdavan Sparshavanapi. Heat and light are the specific properties of fire in addition to the properties of the entities from which it is derived, namely existence, a pseudo-reality apart from existence, and a perceptibility to the senses of sound and touch.
So first there's Brahman, then Maya Shakti, and then this trickle down theory of the elements. Going on.
Sanmayavyo Mavavyam Shayyukta Syagato Gunaha Rupam Tatra Sata Sarvam Anyad Buddhya Vivirjatam. Endowed with these properties of Brahman, Maya, Akasha, and air, respectively, fire has color as its specific property, apart from existence. All the other properties of fire are unreal. Understand this by discrimination.
Yes. So again, even though it's seeable with color and form, it's still unreal. Again, go back to the dream. Next one.
Sato vivechite brahmao Sato vivechite vahnao Mityatve sati vasite Apo dashanshato nunyaha Kalpita iti chintayet. Since the reality of fire as Brahman and its unreality apart from Brahman has been established, it is easy to understand the unreality of water apart from Brahman, since it consists only of 1/10 part of fire.
Yes. So again, this idea of grossification, water is this phenomenon of taste. So it is the mind itself that refracts into the tongue, tasting, and the stuff tasted. All of that has apparent existence, which is Brahman. Just like everything else going on.
Santyapomuh shunyatattvaha Sashabda sparsha sanyutaha Rupavattyonya dharmanu Vritya sviyo raso gunaha. Its existence, its pseudo-reality apart from existence, its perceptibility to the senses of sound, touch, and sight are taken from the entities from which it is derived, namely Brahman, Maya, Akasha, air, and fire, respectively. Its specific properties is perceptibility to the sense of taste.
So its existence is Brahman, its Pseudo reality is because of my the water. Let's say you're by a stream, it occurs in space. You can hear it. It has motion. You can touch it. It's cold. And taste. Going on.
Sato vivechita swapsu tanmityatve cha vasite homer tashanshato nunya kalpitas kalpitasvit kalpitasvitati chintayet. Since the illusory character of water considered apart from existence has thus been established, let us now take the case of earth, which arises from 1/10 part of water.
So now he's going down to the grossest, the densest of all the elements, earth. Going on.
Asti bhustasta asti bhustatva shunyasyam shabdasparshau sarupakau rasascha parato gandho naija satta vivicyatam. The earth has for its properties existence, a pseudo-reality apart from existence, and the perceptibility to the senses of sound, touch, sight, and taste. Its specific property is perceptibility to the sense of smell. Their difference from Brahman should be understood.
Yes. So the densest of all of the elements is earth. You have to think in terms of an agrarian society that if you till the soil, it has a fragrance, it has a smell. So that's the densest of it all. And again, the existence is Brahman, the pseudo-reality by means of Maya Shakti can go to the dream state. Your mind is the substratum. The pseudo-reality is I fall asleep. And from the deep sleep state, all the 5 elements, combining in various names and forms, become a world of name and form. Going on.
Prithak kritayam sattayam bhumir mithya vishyate bhumir tashan shato nyunam brahmandam bhumi madhyagam. The illusory character of earth is realized when it is considered apart from existence. 1/10 part of it forms the cosmos.
Yes, I love that. I love that. So yes, the element earth is 1/10 a part of the element of water. Each one was 1/10 a part of the previous. Not much left when you get to earth. And it forms the whole cosmos. I think what he said, 1/10 of earth forms the cosmos. Next one.
Brahmanda madhye tishtanti bhuvanani chaturtasha bhuvaneshu vasantyeshu pranideha yatha yatham. The cosmos contains the 14 worlds and all the living beings suited to each world.
Yes, so in the cosmos is 1/10 of the part of the element earth. All the 14 worlds, and of course we know there's many more, and all the beings on them. Going on.
Brahmanda lokadeheshu sadvastuni prathikrite asanton dayo bhantu tadbhane piha kashatihi. If we abstract from the cosmos the existence with If we abstract from the cosmos the existence which underlies it, all the worlds and all objects are reduced to a mere illusory appearance. What does it even matter? What does it matter even if they still continue to appear?
So here is a very important point. The substratum is Brahman. All of the cosmos appears like a hologram. So if you see the movie, the original Star Wars, when R2-D2 projects the hologram of Princess Leia, what if someone got out a sword and with their lightsaber through the hologram of Princess Leia? What would happen?
Would go right through.
Yeah, because she wasn't real. So the world continues to be seen, but it is like a hologram. So all the various poetic scriptures that talk about the destruction of the universe, knowledge destroys the universe. If you think the little Princess Leia is a real little girl, you see it as a hologram. It continues to be seen, not real. Next verse.
Bhuta bhautika mayanam satve tyanta vasite sadvastatva dvaitamityesha dhir viparyoti na kvachet. When a deep impression has been created in the mind about the elements and their derivatives, and Maya being of the same category, that is of non-existence, the understanding of the real entity as non-dual will never be subverted.
Yes. So the idea here is, if you continue to meditate on the dream-like nature of all phenomena without exception, listen carefully, that means all spiritual experiences too. What is real? Our definition of real is that which is never subject to negation, that which never changes, that which always is, that which is the same yesterday, today, and forever. Everything else, nitya, illusion. All right, we're almost done. We'll have to finish it up next week. What verse are we on?
We're going to do 99 next week.
And how many verses in this chapter?
10 more.
10 more. Okay. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Sri Guru Pyo Namaha. Hari